Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster, and this is part 4 of What If Deku was half gargoyle. Now, this is the what if that was picked by the winner of the What If Lotto. If you remember from last part, as a quick recap, well, UA was informed of the quite possible uh, things that will be happening in the future, hence if you weren't paying attention in the last part, the cloning process of not just Deku, but the others of Class 1A and who are also there, 13 and Aizawa, as well as filling in not just Class 1A, but 1B as well, as they may also be possible targets for this. So, with that being said, we'll start the what if, but before that, hit it. Now then, it has been about 2 days and they were already filled in. So, yeah, on the fourth day, things were arranged, and each of the UA students in the hero course were given uh, a message that was also sent to their parents to be meeting together in front of UA in order for some added training before they went back to school, since it was shut down for a week while the police investigated. And they would be training for the rest of the duration of what was left of their, I guess you could call it a break. Though this was going to be quite special training. As they came together one after another, Zuko got a little nervous around his classmates, given the fact that they now know that he's only half human. Though they kind of don't really mind, given how quirks can vastly change people's appearance in all sorts of ways. His appearance isn't a problem, though they're curious about what kind of being is a gargoyle, considering worldwide they're known as more or less statues put on buildings and are supposed to be used to ward off evil spirits and such. They know that much about the term of gargoyles, but they don't know what it means to be a gargoyle in the sense of a actual living being. So once they all got there, they loaded up on the bus, both Class A and Class B, and were taken somewheres. Izuku was thinking as he remembered something last night when his dad stated he had to go somewheres. Aside from the bus, there were some added cars that held faculty members and etc., including the detective that was All Might's friend and needed some more information to help work with the case, considering that the cloning process is highly illegal ever since the mess that happened whenever Dr. Savarius uh, did it. So there is that. As they are on the bus and seeing that they're getting more and more into a secluded place with plenty of forest areas, Zuko recognized where this was. Mina noticed his expression, asking, "Hey, Zuko, have you been here before?" He sighs, remarking, "Yeah, this is This is extremely familiar territory for me, as he pets the head of Sue, who is just chilling with him on next to the seat. So, as they get to a Japanese style castle kind of deal, they continue walking. Now, this is during, let's say, a little bit into past noon. So, they continue going as they are led into a courtyard where they see statues of gargoyles within a similar form, but not exact, to Izuku, as they're wondering why are they facing inwards, like into the courtyard instead of out in their surroundings away from the castle. If you haven't seen gargoyles, this is just the culture for the gargoyles from Japan. As then they hear somebody, ah, so you've all made it. Good. Now, before we start anything, I think a certain explanation should be given. As they look back, seeing a man with silver hair and who seems to have a European accent, they, as he introduces himself, stating, "The name's Macbeth." Obviously, the person who recognized that name is Momo, who raises her hand and asks, "Is Macbeth?" As in Macbeth, the story written by uh, Shakespeare? He laughs, remarking, "You could say that, though Shakespeare didn't do the actual story justice." Surprised this, that what he just said. This confused a good number of the students. They heard a little bit about this Shakespeare guy from their classes in literature in middle school and such, including some of their classes in UA, the normal high school classes. So he laughs, remarking, "I think a thorough explanation should be given, though I think this isn't just a story for me to tell." As he gestures towards a door, and from it walks in two beings who also look like gargoyles, but they are vastly different from Izuku. One of them has gray skin and seems to have robotic parts, while the other one seems to be a robot with a golden texture to it, along with a female like form, as they introduce themselves as Cold Stone, Cold Fire, stating that before they begin their training, they should learn the history of the one who took their blood to do what she's doing with it, from stating the name Demona. As Macbeth states, yes, though this story goes a good bit back before I ever met her. They're a bit confused, though they begin to tell the story, beginning all the way back to the castle where Goliath's clan was based in, as they begin telling the story of how Goliath and the gargoyles made pacts with humans to guard their castles during the night, while during the day the humans would guard them. They were stone at day and flesh at night. Of course, Bakugo yelled, stating, "Wait, but how are you?" Cold Stone stated that due to certain circumstances, he was revived using a combination of both science and magic. This confused them for a moment, with Macbeth saying, That's not the craziest part of this story, as they continue, revealing that the Mona's plan was to get the gargoyles out of sight long enough for every for the Vikings to storm in during the day and just take out of the all the armed forces that were guarding it that were human. However, it didn't go as he planned, and as a result, most of the clan destroyed, including them. If it wasn't for the combination of magic and science, they wouldn't be there today. They did have a sad look on their face for hearing about such a tragedy, even more so after hearing what happened to Goliath, the remaining members that he knew of what was left of his clan being put under a spell by a mage driven to complete rage with grief of someone he thought died, the princess of the castle. And for so long they were trapped in that stone body. As then they hear a voice state, until my father gathered all the bricks of the castle, including the gargoyles, creating his famous tower based in New York. They looked over seeing Alexander Xanathos, stating that the spell was broken due to the skyscraper having the castle placed on top of it above or at least at a high enough altitude for the spell to be broken. As they continued, ending it there, or at least that part of it, for a moment, then switching over to Macbeth's story, as he explains the certain events that led him to meet the Mona, as well as the witches. As Momo chimed in, stating, your story has aspects of the story of Macbeth, but it seems to be very different from what Shakespeare wrote. He stated that Shakespeare altered the story, but despite what they may think, the story of Macbeth is highly real. After all, he is the very same Macbeth that story is based off of, as he continues stating about the three witches that bounded his soul with the Monas, giving her her youth and making them essentially immortal. And continuing the story, stating how the bad blood between them got to the point it is now. Now the Mona despises all humans, though she's more than willing to work with them to gain what she wants in the end. Stating that all I wish is to finally die so I can be with my beloved. However, the only way that can happen if is if I kill Demona or if she kills me. If anyone else causes fatal damage to either of us, it will only last temporarily. We will regenerate. Though, the closer we are to one another, well, if I get heavily injured for a moment while I regenerate, she will also feel the pain from it. As they kind of understand how things got so bad in a way, as they continued, as Cold Stone and Cold Fire remarked that they are here to help deal with the Mona, to assist Macbeth in this endeavor, since they took down their evil brother who went by the name Cold Steel. The Mona is the only rogue member of their rookery siblings that is causing extreme damage to the world today. And it is their responsibility now to deal with her, since it's a good bit into the future, and Goliath aged the point to where he eventually died. So yeah, as they continue talking, Macbeth stated that they're here to train to fight Gargoyle. That it is most likely that their DNA that was taken from them will be spliced with Izuku's DNA to create a more stronger version of them. Not only most likely having their quirks, but having the strength of a gargoyle, claws that can tear through steel plates, as well as leave claw marks in solid rock. Incredible physical strength and such, remarking that Izuku is special among gargoyles as a natural hybrid, as they know about the Mona's ability that during the day she's human and at night she's a gargoyle, which is explains her appearance at the USJ. And during this entire time of training, they'll be forbidden from using their quirks. This confuses them for a moment, with Bakugo yelling out why, as Macbeth gestures at Bakugo to come at him using his quirk at full power if he wants. Bakugo took him up on that offer and was quickly beaten and slammed right on the ground on his back, knocking the wind out of him. With Macbeth looking over him, stating that he had plenty of years of experience, especially fighting the Mona and learning how to fight off all sorts of gargoyles of different sizes and skills. If they can't learn how to face gargoyles, then facing gargoyles with their exact same quirks will be extremely difficult. Plus, some physical training will help them face them even better. As Bakugo just kind of scoffs at this. So they understand it and why they're suggesting this kind of training. And ask, okay, so Mina raises her hand and asks, okay, so what, we'll be training fighting against cold stone and cold fire, is it? They said, some of you will. However, we're not the only one. As the sun went down, since this talk lasted a while, they began to hear some crackling sounds and rumbling as they looked around at the gargoyle statues around them, as they began to burst with stones, like a stone cell around the bodies just falling off, revealing the gargoyles that they really are. Also revealing Izuku's father. And Bakugo stating, well, that explains why I'd never seen them in daylight. As Izuku's father Hasashi states that they will be training with their clan for the duration of their time off before UA's classes begin again. And they are forbidden from using their quirks, since if they can stand a chance against a gargoyle without their quirks, it will have a better chance against gargoyles who have the same quirks that they do. So the training began, and it was difficult. As Macbeth took a look at some of the class and did research on plenty of the students, he took Todoroki to the side and decided to train him personally with cold stone. As the training continued, Macbeth berated him quite a bit, which got under Todoroki's skin, causing him to yell out, Why are you saying all that? Why are you pushing me, stating that I'm just not putting my all into it? Macbeth states, because you didn't even put your all into the exam to get into UA. The clone that will be of you will use his full power without any hesitation, and yet you hold yourself back. I cannot I can understand problems with family, as this does tick Todoroki off a bit, but Macbeth continues stating, but he doesn't choose how you use your power. You do. Thinking that using it means that you have to do what he wants is idiotic, and it will most likely get you killed. This isn't something that you can just half-ass it. When it comes down to it, you are going to need to use your flames and your ice in order to survive. Otherwise, you won't stand a chance and you will die. Trust me, I've lived long enough to know that. So, of course, Todoroki is pissed, but he understands how old this guy is and how experienced in fighting he is. So, he knows that this comes from a place of experience and wisdom of old age, and respect that. Though he isn't fond of the idea of using his flames, even now. But he understands that if he doesn't, there is a very real chance he will die. So he just sighs and continues training, thinking over what Macbeth says. As the training continues, and we get to the final day when they get to leave. So before they leave, Alexander shows up again with a couple of trucks. And as they go, the students ask what's with those trucks. As Alexander states, Simona has shown that she will not hesitate to harm other gargoyles if they stand in their way. So, I made arrangements for some added security. I'd rather not take any chances that they would come here to destroy the gargoyles that would stand in their way. As we then see the Steel clan being unloaded, with Alexander stating that these robots protect them during the day. Hopefully it will be enough, but if it's not, it will alert me of the situation when it gets, if they ever come here. As Zuko sighed, being relieved that his clan is going to be okay. As they get on the bus and drive away, they go back to UA and so end up going back home. Though on the bus ride, Izuku is asked a couple of questions about gargoyle culture. He states that, well, basically, a clan is a family, though I was raised a bit differently from my Rookery brothers. This term caught their eye, asking what did that mean. He states that normal gargoyles are hatched from eggs, though because he's half human, he was born whole like a human. But Rookery siblings are born from a cluster of eggs from the gargoyles that were uh, that they laid and such. And the eggs that hatch are essentially siblings, though because he's half human, it was a bit of a mix cultures, so it was a bit different. The gargoyles that he had fun with on their breaks were technically his rookery siblings, which surprised them that he would have so many gargoyles considered siblings to him, as they remembered what Cold Steel and Fire said. And Sue asked, Sue Asui asked, so basically what that Cold Stone guy said about rookery sibling, does that mean that this Demona lady was born from the same cluster of eggs as they were? He shook his head yes. And it was a long time ago, but they'll cause trouble, no matter what. The Mona and the League of Villains. And it isn't like any of them could cause any permanent damage to her. They already knew that from what Macbeth told them, and from the few instances Macbeth got hurt a bit from training and was rapidly healed. So they understood what they were going up against. And hopefully the training helped them in bettering their skills to face it. So on the day that they got back to UA, Aizawa stated that they'll be preparing for the UA Sports Festival as they become excited and pumped for this. The same things happen as in canon where we see Bakugo who just angers the everybody in front of class 1A, like all of the general study course students that just clutter up the doorway shouting out the competition. So yeah, as we skip through all the training that they did and get to the UA Sports Festival. Now, Sue, the gargoyle dog that's bonded to Izuku, is actually excluded from the sports festival since he's being licensed as a hero dog, or at least that's how they're doing it. Similar to a military dog that sniffs out bombs or a police dog that attacks criminals. So, yeah, the hero version of that, like Bat Dog. Or I think it's Bat Hound actually, but you know what I mean. In fact, he's being left at home with Inko, who's sitting on the couch, petting Sue as Hasashi is stone right now behind the couch. So she's recording it for when night falls. As Izuku was the one with the highest score in the Heroes test for the entry of the Hero Corps of UA, he was asked to give the speech. As he came up, he stated that those of us here, well, many of us here, decided to go to UA in order to become heroes, protect those who weren't able to protect themselves. And even though not all of them are in the hero course, he wanted everyone to try their best to show them what they could be, and to all the ones in the general studies that want to be able to enter the hero course, show them, show the world what you can be, what you can do. As he steps down with the crowd cheering, as he remembers what All Might stated to him while they were going through the training at the gargoyle compound, stating that, giving him a bit of a heads up beforehand, stating that the sports festival would be like a debut for him. Which, honestly, it's not like this is an annual thing, so they would know when it is. since it's pretty much the thing that replaced the Olympic Games due to the appearance of quirks and such. So, Midnight shows up and reveals the first challenge to weed out the the whole crowd and such of students, revealing the obstacle course. So, as they get ready, Midnight signals them to go. As they charge through trying to get through the gateway that is narrowed, Izuku decides to use One for All to get some nice jumps in, flying into the wall, bouncing back and forth above everybody's head, with Todoroki doing the same thing with the ice covering the ground and freezing plenty of people, as plenty of students are able to get through without being caught by the ice. Where we then see Izuku coming out of the entrance, opening his wings to glide. As President Mike states, "Isn't that clever of him? Using his abilities in climbing and such to get over the crowd as well as avoid young Todoroki's ice." But I was stating, yes, he is quite good in that aspect for avoiding difficult terrains. As they get through, we then get to the portion of the obstacle course, which is where the robots are. As Izuku is starting to lose altitude at this point and sees the 0 pointers. Of course, Todoroki freezes them to get past as they begin to fall, though Izuku uses One for All, charging it throughout his body, using his feet with it to get some wind pressure and go up to the falling robots, and with his fist swing it as much as he could without harming himself, blasting the robots back so that they wouldn't fall on the students. With Aizawa stating, although it wouldn't help him in advancing in this part of the sports festival, I commend him for helping out the other students, even if it doesn't really help him. With President Mike, well, that's a Hero Course student for you. As they then get to the giant pit portion, using his wings as to glide as well as One for All to create air pressure, he passes it up easily. As we continue to the minefield, as this continued, Bakugo gets pretty irritated with Izuku and tries to go at him, which is met with good resistance, as well as Izuku using his tail to grab him, which is dodged by Bakugo, stating, "I'm not letting you do that again," though is then met by a kick from Izuku, sending him towards the minefield. Though he's able to use his explosion to recover and avoid blowing up, Izuku is able to use more air pressure to get closer to the goal. Of course, Todoroki had to freeze the ground in order to catch up, which ends up in the same result as in canon, with Izuku in first place. Next is the cavalry battle. Mina would have liked to be in Izuku's group, but she wanted to challenge herself and even try to best Izuku as well. She didn't want to be outdone, even though that she did want to help out Izuku. After all, if he did side with Izuku, he might not get as much exposure. I mean, considering the nature of the sports festival and what it means to do well in it. So the rankings is all pretty much the same and stuff. As we then see Midnight reveal the next portion, the cavalry battle, and goes over the rules as well as the point system, which Midoriya is freaking out because now he has a giant target on him. As he does end up with the same team, he comes up with a good idea, given what they have on hand. He asks Hachime if he can use the boot, as she's fine with that, and has a plan for Uraraka Zero Gravity. So, as it starts, everybody just blitzes towards Izuku's team as he says, "Go for it." And Uraraka lightens him, allowing him to float. So he's using the wind pressured boots that Hachime had in order to give him some lift, while the zero gravity was being used to make him weightless, with his wings being used to help direct him. Normally he would use air pressure, but that could be dangerous, especially if the air pressure hits somebody, causing them harm. In the obstacle course, he could distance himself and such. And plus, this gives his teammates some exposure as well. So, as you would expect, Bakugo would attempt to take his headband, but would fail, as the others figured that they can't get Izuku, and he isn't actually breaking any of the rules, so they go after other teams. Eventually, Bakugo loses his headband and gets royally pissed, going after Class 1B. The copy quirk guy, which honestly, his attitude kind of annoying. So he completely forgets about Izuku. As for Izuku's team, Izuku was just the main distraction. I mean, you're seeing like a massive amount of points flying right above your head. Of course, you're gonna look at that more than the horse that he left behind. So, while people were being stuck by other people's quirks, like the glue guy's quirk as well as Todoroki's ice quirk, Izuku's team was using Dark Shadow to snag headbands left and right, which ended with Izuku's team getting first place, ending with the same amount of lineup, with Bakugo also taking out Class 1B's copy quirk guy. I actually forget his name, I do apologize, but you know. And with that, I believe we'll end this with the next part, starting off at the tournament arc. Well, the tournament section of the UA Sports Festival. I do hope you enjoyed. This was part 4 of What If Deku was half gargoyle. Hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Also remember to hit the little bell and set it to all so that you are properly notified of any uploads that I do. So, hope you enjoyed, and see you later.